Hi everyone, it is Achia here, Booking It with Achia, and today we are doing a recommendation video. But specifically, this is going to be a Read Your Library recommendation video where I'm going to give you 20 book recommendations of books that I absolutely love and think you should add to your TBR for Read Your Library. And I'm super excited to share this list with you. This is for those people who maybe they're doing hard mode and there are some spots that they need to fill, or maybe they're doing challenge medium mode or even easy mode, and there's still some prompts that they need a little bit more guidance, or even if your book that you thought was going to fill a prompt, once you read it, ends up not fulfilling the prompt, you need something else. Or if you're not doing the readathon or you're watching this after April and you just need some book recommendations, this is like a hodgepodge book recommendation. If you don't know what Read Your Library is, it is a readathon that was created by yours truly, all about reading from and utilizing our local libraries, our local public libraries, but you're also open to use your own library, whether that's physical or ebook that you own, little free libraries, borrowing from friends, just making reading more accessible and keeping it accessible and not shrinking the modes of accessibility to literature. I will have the announcement video down below as well as my TBR, because that can also serve as another recommendation video for you. And I'm super excited to be hosting round two and having all these amazing co-hosts and all these amazing participants joining me for the second round. Now we're going to jump straight into this recommendation video. I will say that it's nothing new, but all of these books that I'm going to share with you fulfill the BIPOC voices prompt on the bingo board. So all of these books are BIPOC authored, Black, Indigenous, people of color. So if that was the one square somehow that you have or don't have, then you just pick one of these books and it will fulfill that prompt. We're going to start off with The Reformatory by Tananarive Due. This one is a historical horror fiction taking place in Jim Crow South in 1950 at a boys' reformatory that's based on an actual real place that was found out to have been terrible and corrupt. We follow two siblings, Robbie and Grace, after protecting his big sister from the unwanted attention of a white boy from a prominent land-owning family in a town. Robbie is then sent to the Gracetown School for Boys. Robbie is able to see ghosts, or haints as they call them, and this used to be comforting because he was able to see and kind of interact with his late mother, but his power to see ghosts quickly clues him into some really horrific truths about the reformatory and what has been happening there since its inception. On the outside, we have Grace, and she is trying everything in her power, going all over the state to free her brother before he ends up another casualty of the reformatory. The reformatory fits several prompts, specifically for, on the challenge card, it can fit the reference desk category, specifically the prompt of an informative read, because it is talking about, it takes from the real life reformatory. I don't think it was called Gracetown, but it is based on a real life reformatory and based on the experiences of Tananarive Due's great uncle. And then on the bingo board, it fits a few places, specifically award worthy because it won the Bram Stoker Award for Best Novel, World Fantasy Award for Best Novel, Shirley Jackson Award, as well as others. It also fits the big book prompt because it is 570 pages, and it fits location and title because the reformatory is a location. The second book we have is Bree Boyd is a Legend by Leah Johnson. This is a middle grade contemporary about a girl, Bree Boyd, who is feeling the pressure of being perfect in a family of Black excellence. One day, she gains the power of telekinesis, and suddenly she's not in total control anymore. Bree, with the help of her friend and big sisters, learned how to carve out her own space of self, or her own sense of self, separate from being gifted, studious, perfect, and also just finding joy within her life at such a young age. This one, of course, is going to fit the children and teens area on the challenge card, the prompt of the trenches, because it is a middle grade. And then on the bingo board, it fits the character name and title, under 250 pages, and part of a series prompt because it is in the same world as the Ellie Engel Saves Herself book. Book number 3 is Genesis Begins Again by Alicia D. Williams. This is a young adult contemporary about a girl, Genesis, who is dealing with extreme self-hate, especially about her dark skin. Genesis is also grappling with housing insecurity and an emotionally abusive and alcoholic father who is the root of her self-hate because he too is dark-skinned and hates himself because of that. And it's her journey to learning how to love herself, hence why it's called Genesis Begins Again. This one fits 5 different prompts. On the challenge card, it fits 2, specifically within the stacks category, the backlist book prompt, because it was published before 2020. And then in the children and teens area of coming of age, because it is a YA book. Then on the bingo board, it fulfills the debut novel prompt, character name and title, award worthy. Oh wow, there's actually 6. Award worthy because it won the Coretta Scott King John Steptoe Award for New Talent, Newbery Honor, and other nominations, as well as being a banned book. So it fits twice on the challenge card and then 4 times on the bingo board, whichever one that you need. Book number 4 is Take a Hint, Dani Brown by Talia Hibbert. This is an adult romance between Danica Brown, a PhD student who has sworn off love, and Zaf, an ex-rugby player and brooding security guard who saves Dani during a workplace fire drill gone wrong. Zaf and Dani are filmed after he saves her, and their interaction goes viral. They decide to use that publicity, if you will, that popularity to Zaf's benefit and fake date because the publicity from their relationship online will hopefully help Zaf's sports charity for kids. This fits multiple places on the bingo board, specifically queer rep. Danica is bisexual. Character name in title, part of a series. It is the second book in the Brown sisters and set in another country if you're someone who is not based in the UK, as it is set in the UK. Book number 5 is Honey Girl by Morgan Rogers. While on a girls' trip to Vegas to celebrate completing her PhD in astronomy, Grace Porter drunkenly marries a woman whose name she doesn't even know. This action sends her into a bit of a tailspin because she's so used to following the plan and living up to her stern ex-military father's ideals of how her life should be. She's not feeling fulfilled by completing her PhD. She's burnt out and mentally exhausted, so she flies to Portland to spend time with the wife that she barely knows. Through getting to know her wife Yuki, Grace also begins to relearn herself and what she likes and needs from life to feel fulfilled and happy. And this one fulfills 2 prompts on the bingo board, debut novel and queer rep. Book number 6 is A Drop of Venom by Sajni Patel. This one is a YA fantasy that's an Indian-inspired retelling of the Medusa and Percy myth. Manisha has been running from both the monsters of the jungle, but also the king's army because her people, the Naga, are forced to scatter, and this leads to Manisha becoming a priestess. Pratyush is a famed slayer of monsters and an acclaimed warrior, and frequently visits the floating temples to recenter himself. Every monster that he slays adds years to his life, but the king has him on a leash and he's ready to be let go. Manisha and Pratyush meet and begin to fall for one another, but after a temple visitor sexually assaults Manisha and pushes her off a mountain into a pit of vipers, the two are separated and their paths end up diverging. Now Manisha has become a monster that Pratyush unknowingly must slay, and we watch as these two are on a collision course towards one another. This one fits the challenge card prompt of coming of age in the children and teens area, as well as 3 sections on the bingo board, retelling or mythology slash folklore, series starter because it is the start of the Venom series, and is also part of a series because it is part of the Venom series. Book number 7 is Lunar Boy by Jes Wibowo and Cin Wibowo. Indu, a boy from the moon, has always felt like he doesn't belong ever since he and his adoptive mom began to live on Earth with their new blended family. Indu calls out to the moon asking to return, and the moon hears and agrees to bring him back on the first day of the new year. As that day approaches, Indu begins to have some reservations about his wish as he begins to find unlikely friendships and create a new home life here on Earth. This one fulfills the challenge card prompt of the trenches within the children and teens area. And then it also fits a few places on the bingo board: queer rep, graphic novel, award worthy, and under 250 pages. Book number 8 is To Shape a Dragon's Breath by Moniquill Blackgoose. This is a YA steampunk alternative historical fantasy about a girl, Anakus, who finds a dragon egg from a breed of dragons her people long thought to be extinct. In this world, the colonizers have created schools for those who bond and pair with dragons, and Anakus agrees to attend, leaving her indigenous community behind, only to save her dragon and her people and learn how to properly care for her dragon. There's political intrigue, a little bit of romance, and interesting discussions about assimilation, colonization, and imperialism, and human beings' place in the circle of life. This one fits on the challenge card in the children and teens area under the prompt of coming of age. There's also 5 different places on the bingo board you could place it: debut novel, queer rep, series starter, big book. It is 517 pages, as well as part of a series. Book number 9 is Those Beyond the Wall by Micaiah Johnson. This is a desert sci-fi novel about revolution, the cost of justice, and the false magnanimity of separate but equal and trickle-down politics. Scales is an enforcer who keeps the peace in Ashtown, and she's thrown into the middle of chaos as she races to find out how people are being killed in front of witnesses with no murderer in sight. And this fits on the bingo board under queer rep, as Scales is pansexual, as well as part of a series because it is the second book in the Space Between Worlds. And even though it is the second book, it can stand as a standalone. It's just in that world. Book number 10 is The Jasmine Throne by Tasha Suri. This follows Malini, a princess of the realm, and she is imprisoned by her dictator brother and spends her days in isolation in an ancient temple. We also have Priya. She is a maidservant assigned to attend to Malini every night while also hiding a very dangerous secret. Malini accidentally bears witness to Priya's secret, and they become allies and set off a series of events that are going to completely restructure their empire. This one fits on the bingo board in 4 different spaces: queer rep, there's a sapphic romance between our 2 MCs; series starter, because it is the beginning of the Burning Kingdom series. That also means that it can fulfill the part of a series prompt. And then big book, because it is 540 pages. Book number 11 is Sky Full of Elephants by Cebo Campbell. In this novel, all the white people in America suddenly walk into the nearest body of water, and those that remain are now rebuilding society. Charlie Brunton is a free man after serving time in prison for a wrongful conviction. And when he gets a call from the daughter that has been left behind by her white mother and stepfamily, he drops everything to go and get her. Sydney is traumatized and untrusting of Charlie, but they're stuck together as they journey across the country in search of answers. Sky Full of Elephants explores the idea of race and what it means to be Black in America without whiteness as a comparison point. And this one goes on the bingo board in 2 different places: debut novel and award worthy. Book number 12 is The Street by Anne Petry. This follows a Black mother, Ludi, who is desperately trying to keep her young son, Buddy, alive amidst the violence, poverty, and racial dissonance of late 1940s Harlem. This is a Black classic that was actually the first novel by an African American woman to sell more than 1 million copies, and it fits on 2 places on the challenge card, specifically in the reference desk area under the prompt of library classic. It also fits in the stacks category with the prompt of backlist books because it was published before, obviously, 2020. And on the bingo board, it fits under debut novel because this was Anne Petry's debut novel. Book number 13, funny enough, is another classic, and that is The Color Purple by Alice Walker. This one follows Celie and Nettie, a pair of sisters who are separated as girls as they try to sustain their bond through letters across decades. Letters are from Celie to God, then the sisters to one another, and they chronicle the lives of both Celie and Nettie, as well as Shook Avery and Sophia, as they navigate being Black women in early 20th century rural Georgia. This one fits several places, a total of 7 different prompts this one can fulfill, specifically on the challenge card. In the reference desk category, it fulfills the prompt of library classic. And then in the stacks category, it fulfills the prompt of backlist books. On the bingo board, it fulfills the prompt of queer rep. There is a sapphic relationship between Celie and Shook Avery. It also fulfills the series starter and part of a series, those 2 prompts, as well as being a banned book. And funny enough, as with a lot of banned book. It also fits the award-worthy bingo prompt. Recommendation number 14 is Somadina by Akwaeke Emezi. This is a YA fantasy set in a magical West African world. It follows Somadina, whose latent magic abilities and delayed growth mark her as a freak in her town, and she is trying to journey and save her brother, her twin brother, who's been kidnapped by a powerful man trying to absorb his power. This one fits 4 different prompts. On the challenge card under the children's and teens area, specifically the coming of age prompt, and then on the bingo board, 1 word title, character name and title, and then retelling or mythology/folklore. Recommendation number 15 is Death on Gokumon Island by Seishi Yokomizo. This is a classic Japanese locked room murder mystery. It's also the second book in the Detective Kosuki Kendaishi series. There's this island that's run by a single family, and our detective is sent by a military buddy to make sure that his 3 sisters don't die in his absence. Of course, that's exactly what starts to happen. The sisters start dropping dead one by one in seemingly impossible ways, and Kendaichi has to figure out how these murders are being pulled off. Death on Gokumon Island fulfills 6 different prompts on the challenge card. It fulfills the Library Classics prompt in the reference dense area, as well as the backlist book prompt in the stacks area. Then on the bingo board, it will fulfill location and title, set in another country if you are someone that does not live in Japan, as well as being a translated work and part of a series. Book recommendation number 16 is Witchlings by Claribel Ortega. This is a middle grade fantasy following a girl, 7, who lives in a magical town where young witchlings are sorted into houses every year. During Seven's ceremony, she and 2 other young witches are categorized as spares, and spares are known as being ostracized by the community and also being given limited opportunities. In order to combat this, 7 and the 2 new spares invoke an ancient challenge to help rid the town of a curse and protect their rights and elevate their status as spares. On the challenge card, this one fulfills the trenches prompt in the children and teens area. And then on the bingo board, there are so many different ones. 1 word title, queer rep, series starter, banned book, award worthy, under 250 pages, and of course, part of a series. Book number 17 is Palaver by Brian Washington. This one follows a gay Black man living in Japan and his estranged Jamaican mother who comes to visit him uninvited. They're navigating their fractured relationship while also finding community and love in new and unexpected places. This one fulfills 4 different prompts on the bingo board, specifically 1 word title, queer rep, set in another country, again, if you don't live in Japan, and under 250 pages, as the audiobook is under 8 hours. Book recommendation number 18 is Iron Widow by Zirin J. Zhao. This one is a Y mecha fantasy inspired by the famous and first Chinese empress in a society where girls are routinely sacrificed to power these huge mecha beings, as the male pilots are fighting a war against an unknown entity that has been plaguing the kingdom for centuries. We follow Zacian, who is determined to avenge the death of her sister by infiltrating the military as a concubine pilot and killing the pilot that murdered her sister. What she doesn't expect, however, is to be so powerful that she ends up able to overpower or be equals with the male pilots, which renders her kind of a risk because she can kill them in battle. And this gives her the moniker of Iron Widow. Because of this, Zacian is then paired with the most powerful male pilot to date, and also the most notorious, as he murdered his entire family, and that is Lee Shimin. And it is their journey trying to figure out how to work together without one of them killing the other one. On the challenge card, this fulfills a coming of age prompt in the children and teens area. And then on the bingo board, so many prompts on the bingo board that Iron Widow can fit. Starting with a debut novel, queer rep, set in another country, retelling or mythology/folklore, series starter, banned books, award worthy, and then finally the part of a series prompt. Which, as I'm looking at this, I feel like Iron Widow could fit a spot in every row or column on the bingo board, which is actually pretty impressive. Book recommendation number 19 is The Message by Ta-Nehisi Coates. This is a collection of 3 essays where Coates travels to Senegal, South Carolina, and Palestine, exploring the power of storytelling, oral histories, words, and education. It has both historical and theoretical analyses to the falsehood of whiteness and white supremacy, and the true root cause of the influx of book bans and book challenges that we've been seeing here in America. I actually have a full reader reflection on The Message on my blog, which of course is linked down below. It is a Bibliophiles Unite literary newsletter, and I go very in depth into what that book is doing and how it impacted me. So definitely check that out. The Message covers 4 different prompts. Specifically on the challenge card, we have the informative read prompt under the reference desk, as well as the book about books prompt in the stacks. And then on the bingo board, it fulfills under 250 pages, as it is 235 pages, as well as takes place in another country, because 2 out of the 3 essays are rooted in his time spent in Senegal and Palestine. The final book recommendation in this video is James by Percival Everett. This is a historical fiction novel and retelling of the adventures of Huckleberry Finn from the perspective of Jim the slave. When James hears that his wife and daughter are going to be sold downriver to one of the most brutal plantations, he stages a runaway in order to save them later on. Huckleberry Finn, on the other hand, decides to fake his own death and joins Jim on this adventure along the Mississippi River. This book gives agency to the character of Jim amidst the backdrop of an adventure story between a man and a boy of 2 different social standings, but with this inexplicable bond between them. And James can fulfill 4 different prompts on the bingo board, specifically one-word title, character name and title, retelling or mythology/folklore, and award worthy. And that is it. Those are my 20 book recommendations for Read Your Library. If you're looking for something new to read or looking for books to fulfill certain prompts, or you're seeing this after April and you just needed some book recommendations. And once again, all of these books are BIPOC authored, so they will fit that prompt on the bingo board as well. And yeah, I'm having a great time. I'm excited to continue the month and get these reads done. If you would like to support the channel on a monthly basis, you might would consider becoming a Patreon member or a channel member. Make sure to check out all of my socials. If you're interested in joining the Read Your Library Readathon, make sure to watch the announcement video and then join the Discord and follow all the instructions in there. And make sure to check out my bonfire as well as my Etsy shop. And I will see you in another video. Bye.
Weakness showing, I ain't living for the moment. I see what's mine and I want it. Hungry like a Pac-Man. I'm Bruce Wayne and Batman. I'm Naruto with a Hanzo. Got a sharp mind like I'm Einstein. Plus I'm copywriting, so it's all mine. Check it for me, I'm